Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to give people a few minutes, or maybe another minute or so to join. So please hang tight and we'll get started shortly. In the meantime, if you take a look at the screen here, you'll see that there's some links to help you get started. So in order to follow the Virtual Hands-on Lab live, you need to have a free trial. So log into your free trial or quickly sign yourself up if you haven't done that yet. You should see an email that you've received from Sigma that has a link that you can go to log into the Sigma sample database. So go ahead and go there. And also there's a hands-on lab guide. It's attached in the GoToWebinar control panel or in the handouts, or you can find it that link. And you can always do the lab later at your own leisure if you like. And if you have questions, we are taking questions in the GoToWebinar question section, so just type them in and we'll try and address a few as we go that are relevant, and then at the end we'll cover some more questions. Just hang on another minute. Why don't we go ahead and get started then? So hi everyone, my name is Scott Hedrick and I lead product marketing at Sigma, and I will be your moderator today for this instructor-led Sigma Virtual Hands-on Lab webinar. Today we have one of our fantastic Sigma solution engineers, Ryan Mattel, on the webinar to walk you through the lab and help answer technical questions. So a few housekeeping items before we get started. We are recording the webinar, and you'll receive a link to the replay in your email. So if you want to take a look at it again or share it with somebody, you can do that. And then in the GoToWebinar interface, please submit your questions in the question panel, and we'll answer some as we go. So before we get started, I have a couple of quick polls for you. A few questions just to kind of understand where you're coming from. So you should see the first one. Which do you have more experience with, analytics and BI tools or spreadsheets? So please just go ahead and pick one, whichever you think best suits your experience. So if you go ahead and make a choice, I'll wait till we get a few more people choosing, and then I'll show you the answers. A few more, okay, all right, we're way over a majority, so I'm gonna go ahead and close it. Share the results. You should see, okay, so a majority of people, more than 60%, have more experience with spreadsheets, which is not surprising. And that's part of the reason that Sigma focuses on delivering a spreadsheet experience, because it's very familiar to people. Let's do one more. The next poll is, how many people in your company that need data know how to use your current analytics and BI tools? Is it everybody knows how to use it? No, less than 10%, very few people, or is it somewhere in between? So go ahead and pick the percentage that best matches your organization. Okay, we have answers coming in. All right, let's get a few more and then we'll close out the poll and continue. All right, okay, I'm going to close the poll and share results. Here we go. Wow, okay, so a majority of people, of companies that are represented here, less than 10% of the people who actually need the data can use tools. So, and very few organizations, it looks like everybody can use them. So this is, again, part of the challenge that the Sigma is trying to address, is give people a way to access the data that they need to make decisions and do their job. All right, well, let's continue on. There are two components to this hands-on lab. There is the free trial, which gives you access to the Sigma environment that you can do the lab in, and it has all the sample data and things. And then there is the guide. And so there is a PDF guide that you can look through, and will walk you step by step through the hands-on lab that Ryan is going to take you through. So it's good to have that handy so you can refer to that as you go. And again, you should get ready by logging into your Sigma trial. If you haven't registered, hurry up and go do it now at the link there. And then check your emails for that link to log into that Sigma sample database, which is your starting guide. And again, please do type your questions into GoToWebinar if you have it. And so our agenda for this is simple. You don't need any specialized skills to follow through this. Anybody who's used a spreadsheet can go through this without any difficulty. And so I'm going to introduce Sigma very briefly for people who may not know us. And then I'm going to hand it over to Ryan, and he's going to take you through the hands-on lab. He'll kind of get you oriented in the Sigma UI. You can explore a table. You can perform some calculations and analysis. You'll create a few charts and visualizations, and then build a custom interactive dashboard. If we have time, we'll get to some other advanced topics. We can, of course, answer lots of questions in the Q&A, and we'll try and get through as much as we can in the time today. So first, what is Sigma? Well, if you can go ahead, Ryan, and advance the slide. Sigma is a next generation analytics tool for the modern data stack, and it delivers an intuitive spreadsheet-like experience at cloud scale, meaning billions, even hundreds of billions of rows of data if it's properly set up. And Sigma is complementary to existing investments in data and data integration, and can even be embedded in other tools like Tableau or Salesforce when you really need to drill down to the detailed records. And Sigma also was brought to you by Mike Spicer from Sutter Hill Ventures, who is the original CEO of Snowflake. After he was the CEO of Snowflake, he had an idea for an analytics company that would be able to take advantage of the power of Snowflake, and that's Sigma. And so Sigma has a workbook style. It's a very flexible user interface where you can drag things around and create it. And the workbook sits on your cloud data platform like Snowflake or Redshift or BigQuery or Postgres. And it has a live connection to your cloud data platform. And Sigma also manages security and governance in sync with what you've set up in your cloud data platform. So Sigma can be used for dashboards and visualizations, for using this familiar spreadsheet interface to analyze data and manipulate it. You can create pivot tables and do formula calculations like you would in a typical spreadsheet. And you can drill anywhere to follow the data down to a single record level of detail. So you can do all of this in real time with that live connection to your data, and you can collaborate with your colleagues, and you can create data stories that have narrative text, images, dynamic elements, so you can use it to, say, present on your data. It also scales with your cloud data. There's no technical limitation to how much data Sigma can handle. It's more up to your cloud data platform and how that's provisioned. And then everything that you do in the Sigma workbook can be embedded and exposed to your ecosystem as well. So more than 250 customers, big brands, trust Sigma and run on Sigma and use Sigma to make decisions about their business, including some of these logos that you see on the slide. So with that, we're all ready to go. So I'm going to hand it over to Ryan. Ryan, go ahead and take him through the lab. Thank you.
All right, nice to meet everyone. My name is Ryan Mattel. I am a commercial solutions engineer here at Sigma. I've been here for close to 4 years now, and I'll be walking you through the hands-on lab, which you should have right now as a PDF. And feel free in the question section, if I'm ever going too fast or too slow, to just alert our team, and they'll be sure to comment that I can go slower or faster. So we're going to be walking through the PDF that you have today. We're going to be starting on Module 3, Introduction to Sigma Workbooks. So if you're on the PDF, scroll down to Module 3, and that's where we'll get started. Feel free throughout this time to either just follow along and just watch what I'm doing, or if you have access to Sigma, you can follow along in your own Sigma free trial instance. So I'll go ahead and get started on Module 3, 3.1, Explore and Create a Sigma Workbook. So at the lower left-hand side, you'll see the Sigma Samples database. We'll select that here, and that will take us into our connection view. From here, we'll go into our plugs electronics schema, and we will select this plugs electronics hands-on lab data. Once we select that, we see a nice little preview of the data. As you see, it is a 4.5 million rows, which isn't a crazy amount for cloud data scale, but it is a lot more than Excel would be able to handle. So we're now on 3.1.3, and we'll select this Explore button in the top right. What this Explore button did is it took us into a workbook, and we oftentimes find that we need to do ad hoc analysis, answer quick questions, or gain insights through visualizations. All of that would be done through the workbook here. So we are now in a workbook as an exploration. Explorations will not automatically be saved to your My Documents, but once you click Save As, that will save it into your My Documents as a workbook for you to share out with other users. So we are now on 3.1.5. I'll quickly walk through this differentiator. It's our collaborative canvas. At the heart of a Sigma workbook is the collaboration canvas on each page that makes it easy to bring multiple data elements, including tables, charts, freeform text, and images into a single page to make it easy to tell a data story or narrative with live data and collaborate with colleagues. So this is where we'll do the bulk of our work today. I would also like to point out our spreadsheet interface. As you see, it's very familiar to Excel. You don't need to use to know any SQL to be able to do data analysis operations. Everything that we're doing is being written as machine-generated SQL and being sent to your cloud data warehouse. In this instance, we're working on Snowflake, so everything we're doing is being sent to Snowflake. We are now on 3.1.6, and we'll go ahead and we'll select our cost. So as you see here in the formula bar now that we've selected our cost, we first see in the left-hand side before the slash, the table that this is coming from. And then after the slash, we see the column name that we have selected on. You also have some buttons up here if you ever want to use formatting or undo, redo, and other formatting options as well. So we are now on 3.1.7. We will now add a new column. So sorry, 3.1.8. So to add a new column, we'll either right click on our cost column or click on this little drop down and select our add new column. And that will create a new column for us. From here is where we could start to add some formulas to get the columns that we want to see. We are now in step 3.1.9. And to create these columns, it's just going to be familiar Excel syntax to be able to get the calculations we want to see. So for this new column, we'll go ahead and we'll do cost multiplied by our quantity. As you see, it highlights the columns that we are multiplying together. We can go ahead and click enter, and this will give us our new calculation. We could rename this column by double clicking on the column name, or you can hit the drop down and press rename. And since this is our cost of goods sold, we'll rename this our COGS. From here, we can also format it how we see fit. We know this is a monetary value, so we'll go ahead and format this as a currency. You can do that by clicking the $ after selecting the cost of goods sold column. So now we're on step 3.1.10. I don't know if any of you saw it, but there is a blue line that runs across the top of our screen every time we make a new action, and that is us sending the query to Snowflake. So if we go to our top right here and select on this little drop down for our refresh button, we could check out our query history. From here, we are able to select on the query that was run. We'll select on this table query, and we can see the query that has been written so far. So this is a big differentiator of Sigma, the direct connection to the cloud data warehouse. And this has three main benefits. The first is that Sigma is always reading live and accurate data from the cloud data warehouse because we are querying it directly. And because we are querying the data warehouse, we have unlimited query speed and scale. We are using the full compute resources of the cloud data warehouse. So this can work from as little as 4.5 million rows or even smaller to tens of billions of rows of data. And this also is beneficial because we are using the full security and governance of the cloud data warehouse. The data will never leave the cloud data warehouse, so any security or governance that you have within that cloud data warehouse will be used by Sigma as well. Many other BI products, you need to extract the data from the cloud data warehouse, and this immediately makes the data stale and not secure or governed. Okay, we are now on step 3.1.11. Let's do a similar calculation here. This time we'll calculate revenue. So first we'll add a new column by hitting the drop down, selecting add new column, and now we'll calculate our revenue by multiplying our price times our quantity. Another way that this is similar to Excel is we can select our columns instead of writing it in. We'll select our price, we'll multiply it by our quantity, and that will give us our revenue. We'll rename it to revenue, and we'll format it as a currency once again. Let's make one more calculation, another simple one here. We'll now calculate our profit. So we'll add another new column, and we'll do revenue minus our cost of goods sold. And now this will be our profit. We are now on step 3.1.13. We'll add another new column here, and this will be our profit margin. So we'll go ahead and add a new column, and we'll do our profit divided by our revenue. And now this is a percentage, so we'll obviously rename this as profit margin. And now we'll format it as a percentage instead of a currency. Now, if you might have seen that this query executed extremely fast, Sigma actually leverages the browser query to calculate very simple calculations. If you might have noticed when we were running this query, we didn't see our original cost of goods sold here, and that's because each of these calculations is just being run on the browser. So this is actually not going to query the warehouse. It's run very quickly in the browser so that it saves on compute resources for your cloud data warehouse and runs extremely fast as well. So now we're on 3.1.14. I'll quickly show off the function index. As we've done so far, these have all been pretty simple calculations, but you can get as complicated as you want with our function index. Our function index has almost everything that you would like to see within Excel, but since we are leveraging the power of SQL, we are now able to use things such as window functions and even pass-through functions, which allow you to call out UDFs or functions from within Snowflake or other cloud data warehouses. Okay, perfect. We are now heading into 3.2, creating visual elements.
Hey, and Ryan.
Yep.
Before you go on, there's a question from the audience. How does a query result behave if the backend table is getting updated at the same time?
Great question. So we will take whatever is in the cloud data warehouse. Whatever is in the cloud data warehouse when Sigma sends that query is what we'll return. If it's being updated, you can always refresh up here to make sure that you're getting the most updated version of the data. So if you know that it's currently being updated, if you want the newest version of the data, you can just press refresh data here.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay, perfect. So we're on 3.2. So as mentioned above, this is the canvas that allows to add any number of elements. So let's go ahead and start creating some visualizations. First, we'll go ahead and we'll start by making a bar chart. To make a child element off this parent table, we'll go ahead and head to this top right section and select create child element. And we'll select visualization. This will instantly create a new element that is a bar chart here. In the left-hand bar, we are able to see the different visualizations that we offer. I'll quickly scroll through those, but we want to use a bar chart. So we are now on 3.2.4. We'll want to add a column to our x-axis. Let's go ahead and choose our store region. To do this, we can click on this plus sign to add a column, and then we could type store region into our search bar. Once we select that, it added store region into our x-axis. So now let's go ahead and add something to our y-axis. Let's see, we want to see profit by store region. We can go ahead and add a new calculation for our y-axis and select our profit. Very quickly, this will return our profit by store region. As you see, the query is run with the little blue bar, and now we have a nice chart that shows our profit by store region. If you notice, Sigma will automatically aggregate your values for you. You can change the type of aggregate you want at any time by going to set aggregate. Maybe you wanted to average instead of a sum, you could change it there. Or if you do not want to see aggregated values, you could uncheck that aggregate values box. Okay, perfect. We're now on 3.2.6. So let's go ahead and add a new element. Another way to add an element, we could click on this plus sign in the top left of our screen, and we'll select add element. We'll want to add another visualization here, so we'll select visualization. You get a couple different options to choose from on how you'd want to create this visualization. You can pull from a new table or a SQL query. You can use already in use elements, or you can select elements based off what page they're on. But we'll select in use, and we'll select our plugs electronics table, which is our parent table right here. So we'll select this, and that'll create a new element for us. We are now in step 3.2.7, and we'll create a line chart here. We'll select line chart, and now let's drag, instead of adding a new column here, a column into our new line chart. So we'll want to use date, as line charts are very helpful for time series. We'll drag our date up to our x-axis. And notice that when I drag our date up to our x-axis, it will truncate it to our day by default. If you ever wanted to change the truncation of the date, you could click on the drop down here, head down to truncate date, and change it. From here, we'll want to change this to month, so we'll select month and it'll quickly change that for us. So we are now on step 3.2.10, and we'll be adding a column to our y-axis. From here, we'll want to drag revenue up to our y-axis. We'll select on our revenue, drag it up, and that will make a line chart for us. Taking this one step further, we can compare this line chart over different store regions. And we can do that by adding a column into our color section. From here, we could drag store region up to our color, drop it there, and that'll quickly break out our line chart into our different regions. We now have a line chart showing our revenue over time by store region. We're now on step 3.2.12, and we're going to go ahead and make a pivot table. So we'll go through that the same way we did last time. We'll select add element, and this time we'll select a pivot table. Pivot tables are very powerful within Sigma. Just like these other visualizations, you no longer have to make cubes to aggregate the data to use it within Excel or other systems. We'll now be making a pivot table that runs live on all 4.5 million rows of this data. So we'll go ahead and we'll select our plugs electronics again, and I'll make a new pivot table for us. From here, we can use drag and drop to pull in the different columns that we want to analyze this data on. Let's go ahead and start by dragging up our store region to our pivot row and our product type to our same pivot rows as well. And this will break it out on multiple levels. I'll pause there if we have any questions.
I think you can keep going at this point, Ryan.
Okay, no questions at this point?
No.
Yeah, let me keep going. So we are now on step 3.2.14, and we'll go ahead and we'll drag our date up to our pivot column. Again, it will truncate it to day. As you see, that's obviously, there's too many days to analyze here. So let's go ahead and truncate that to year. Notice that our year of 2015 appears first, or sorry, 2018 appears first. If we wanted to sort it by our latest year first, we can go ahead and select this year of date and select sort, and then select year of date one more time, and that will give us a descending order. Now let's add some values to this pivot table. We can go ahead and start by dragging sum of profit, or sorry, profit into our values, and that will aggregate it to a sum of profit. And then we could drag our profit margin up to our values as well. As you see, our profit margin is a percentage, so we probably don't want to use a sum of profit. We can quickly change the aggregation by selecting on the drop down for sum of profit margin and setting our aggregate to average. And now this will give us the average profit margin per year, per store region, per product type. We also have the options to show totals as well. So we are now in step 3.2.18. By default, Sigma will show the totals, but if we wanted to turn those off, we can go ahead and select our product type and select on our show totals, and that will make those disappear for us. But we'll go ahead and leave that on for the time being. We'll skip a couple steps there. We are now on step 3.2.20. Now, if we wanted to just see all the data for our store regions, we can go ahead and collapse our store region data here, and that will give us a nice view of how our profit and average profit margin are doing by region. Notice the total, the grand total values at the bottom here. Okay, perfect. This looks like a great workbook. We might want to go ahead and save this to our My Documents now. If we wanted to save this, we would select on Save As up here. And we could name this our Plugs Electronics Exploration, or sorry, Plug Sales Exploration. And select Save. And now this will push this into our My Documents. Once you publish this, to be able to share this out, you can select on the Share button. And from here, you would be able to share it with any users or teams that you would like to be able to share it with. Okay, we are now on step 3.2.23.
And
We
Matt,
also
sorry, hey, Ryan,
go ahead.
I got a couple questions that came in. One of them is the set aggregate menu has a defined list of options. Is there somewhere else to create aggregates?
That's a great question. Yeah, whenever you are using an aggregate, you can always use the formula bar as well. So if you don't see the option that you would like to use in the set aggregate, you can always select on the value you would like to use. So for instance, this sum of profit, and then we could change the value from the formula bar as well. So maybe we wanted to see max, we could just do max of our profit here.
Okay, great. One more is how to center align the year reflected in the pivot.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
How to center align the year reflected in the pivot. I think they're talking about within the cell, the years are left justified. And I think they want to center justify it in the column.
Oh, okay, I see. So I think we are able
That's
to
what
do
they
that
mean.
if we head to format. We might not have the ability to do that. Let me check with our.
It says left there.
Yeah, that's just the title though.
Oh,
You can always change I believe you could. Maybe there's not a way to do this as of now. That's a great feature request though. I could take that down as a note and send that over to our product team.
okay. Thank you. I think that's good for the questions for now.
Perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and go into 3.2.23. From here, we can also send this out via scheduled exports. So scheduled exports are a very powerful tool. You can send out this whole dashboard on a specific schedule that you would like to see. Let me get that tooltip out of the way. To send this out, you can either send it out via email or Slack to whoever you would like, also Google Sheets or Google Drive. You could send it out a whole page or just specific elements as a PDF or image, and you could send it on whatever schedule you'd like. So say I'd want to send it out every Monday at 9 a.m. You can also set your filters from here, or also send this out if a condition is met. So this is very helpful if your team is ever working on goals or maybe wants to set up alerts. You can set up on a specific column. If there's ever equal to, greater than, less than a specific value, Sigma will test that condition, and if that condition is met, it will send out. If not, it will not send it out. Okay, perfect. So we're now heading to module 4, creating a dashboard. We're going to start on 4.1, create a dashboard. So we have all of our visualizations here. Now we would want to share this out to our other users to be able to consume this data. We can start by, on 4.1.1, moving our visualizations over to a new page. To move visualizations to a new page, you can select on these 3 dots here, go down to move to new page, and select new page. And that quickly moved our bar chart over to our second page. We could rename our pages here. at the bottom by clicking on the drop down, selecting rename. We'll call this dashboard our sales performance. And we'll call our first page data. We are now on step 4.1.3. We'll go ahead and start moving over our other visualizations. We'll move over our line chart to our sales performance page. And then we'll move over our pivot table to our sales performance page. So now we only have our parent table on this page and all of our visualizations on our second page. From here, we're not able to see all of our visualizations in one view. If we wanted to move around these elements, you can select on these 6 dots, or sorry, you could grab onto these 3 dots here and then move your visualization to wherever you would like. So we'll move it right to the right of our bar chart here. You could see this little blue line will show where it's going to move. We'll let go of that and it will move it quickly for us. Perfect. We are now on 4.1.5.
So Ryan, one question from the audience is how to draw a stacked histogram.
Yeah, so a histogram, we would often use a bar chart for that. If you ever wanted to make a stacked one, you can go ahead and add a value into your color. For example, we could drag store state up to our color here. And then to make it stacked, you can either have it stacked such as this, or you could eliminate stacking and have the different values there.
Awesome, thanks. Let's see, what was the other one? Can you work on making visualization changes like converting a bar chart into a pie chart once moved over to a new page?
Yep, you always have the freedom to change your chart type. This won't look too nice if I change it to a pie chart, but if I ever wanted to change it, I could just change the visualization from here and then customize it. Or you can always just make a new element to make that visualization.
Cool, thank you.
No problem. Now let's add some context for our users. We'll go ahead and click on this plus sign again, and we're going to want to add in a text element. So we'll select on this UI element and select text. From there, it will make a text box for us. You have a couple other options for UI elements such as images, buttons, embedded versions, embedded elements, spacers, dividers, and plugins as well. So let's go ahead and add a header here. We'll make this medium heading and call this our sales performance. And we'll go ahead and drag that to the top of our dashboard. Let's add one more text box with some more description of what this dashboard is. We'll click on Add Element again, select text, and this is where we'll add some more context. So we'll say this dashboard is used to explore regional sales performance. And now it's step 4.1.7. So we'll move on from there. Next, we'll want to add in some control elements so that our users are able to filter on these charts. We'll head back up to the top left again. We'll select on Add Element. And we'll go ahead and scroll down to our date. So this is a little bit different than what you're seeing in the PDF, but we'll just select date, and this will be our date range. but there's a couple other ways that you can filter, such as list values, numbers, text boxes, switches, drill downs, and top values. So we'll select our date here, and that will create a new control for us. We'll start by changing the control ID to date range. And we can call our control label, which is what our users will see. We'll call this select a date range. And that will change our control for us. We'll go ahead and quickly move this to the right of our values. Oh, whoops. Actually, I'm going to leave it here. It looks like the GoToWebinar got in the way a little bit. We could just leave the filter right here. But let's go ahead and add some targets first. So right now, this filter is currently not targeting any of our visualizations. We want it to be able to filter on these visualizations. So we'll go ahead and click on target and select add target. We're now on step 4.1.11 if you're following along. So we want this to impact our charts here. So we'll go ahead and we'll select our bar chart first. By default, it will take a guess at what column you'd want this to filter on. Looks like it got it right here. We do want it to filter on our date column for our chart. So let's go ahead and add in our line chart and our pivot table as well. We'll select our pivot table, our line chart and our pivot table. It took a guess at what columns you would like to filter on. Once again, month of date and year of date. That's correct. We want to filter on those values. So now let's see how this date range works. So we'll select on our date range, and that'll pull up our range modal for which we wanted to filter on. Say we want to filter on our next 30 days. Sorry, our last 30 days. We can go ahead and do quick select here. This will create a relative filter. We'll select on last 30 days, and quickly that will apply a filter for these. Obviously, there's not enough data to be able to provide that. You might want to do something such as last year, and that will pull it up for us. Perfect. We are now on step 4.1.14. Since we just want our users to be able to see this dashboard and maybe not use the parent table data from below, we can go ahead and hide this data tab. So to hide it, we would click on this little drop down, select hide, and then any of our users with Explorer access would not be able to view this parent table page.
Hey, Ryan, another question came in. Can the generated reports be exported to a PDF?
Yes, 100%. So one way to do that would be through the schedule to export or send now things I walked through earlier. But if you just wanted to export a specific tab, you can also download it as a PNG. But if you wanted to do PDF, you would just use the send now capabilities. And then you could select whichever ones you would like and format it as a PDF.
That's great, thanks.
No problem. So this dashboard looks great. We are now on step 4.1.15. We'll go ahead and click publish, and that will make this a dashboard that could be shared out with our users. So next, let's go into exploring the dashboard. So we are now on module 4.2. From here, we can, this looks a little different than what it looks like in the PDF. We've updated Sigma quite a bit since we've made this. So if we wanted to explore, we could say preview as Explorer. And now this will take us into the Explore view of our data. The Explore view of data is where your users are able to head in and answer questions for themselves without having to go back to the data team to get the answers they need. We're really trying to break the paradigm that data teams and business users have to have this tough level of communication between each other. We want to allow these business users to answer questions for themselves. So quickly, as you notice, we see that the data page has been removed. That's because we hid it from our users so that they wouldn't be able to access this. We are now on step 4.2.13. And if you want to just watch how I do this here, this is going to be going through our drill downs. This is one of the most powerful tools that we have within Sigma. It is our drill anywhere capabilities. So I'm going to be walking through a quick example. I'm going to take the role of a merchandising manager. I've been asked by our CEO to create a campaign to revive our loyalty program for our top customers. All I've been told is to pilot in our southern region and target customers purchasing computers. There are the first couple of points that gave me direction, but from here I'm not sure yet. I'm looking to get transaction level data that my team can build an effective campaign around. So our drill anywhere capabilities allow us to do this, answer our own questions without going back up to our data team. So first, we'll go ahead and right click on our southern region. We know we want to focus on that. So we'll right click here. We'll select drill down based off this. But you have a couple other options as well. If you only wanted to filter on the south, you could select keep only, or if you wanted to filter it out, you could exclude, or if you wanted to show the underlying data, that would take you into a more granular level of view. So let's click show underlying data there. Now what this did is it basically took us to a tabular level view of this data. We're focused only on the southern region for this data. Once this loads, we'll be able to see how this data looks from row level data. And this really allows you to go beyond the dashboard to see the most granular level of view. We can single click to get to where we want to see and see all of our separate rows right here. If we just wanted to see the aggregated level of view, we could quickly collapse that to see our sum of profit there. So now we wanted to drill into our data to see how the southern region is doing by our computers. So let's right click on our southern region here. We're now on step 4.2.7. We'll select drill down and we'll select our product family because we want to see how computers are doing. Once we select product family, that applies a filter on the southern region and changes our x-axis to our product family. And all these profits are being recalculated for that different x-axis change. So now we wanted to drill down into our top stores for computers and tablets. So we'll right click one more time onto our computers and tablets, drill down into our store name. That quickly changed our data for us to see how the computers and tablets are looking for each of our stores. We are now on step 4.2.10. The x-axis has been updated to our stores, and now we are able to run some analysis based off these stores. So Sigma is powerful in the fact that you're able to change calculations to be able to get the metrics that you want to see. So right now we're just looking at sum of profit. Maybe we'd want to see how our store regions are doing by customer. We could quickly change our sum of profit by dividing by our count distinct of our customer name. And what that will do is quickly change our calculation to be able to see our average spend per customer. So instead of going back up to our data team to have them create the metrics that we wanted to see, we're able to just dig into this bar chart for ourselves and find the metric that we want to see. Lastly, let's drill one more time to get our actual top customers. Let's select on this Clark store number 942. We'll drill down one more time and we'll select our customer name here. So now we got to the answer we wanted to see. We see our top customers in our top store in the southern region focusing on computers and tablets. If we wanted to change the sort options, we could quickly do that by right-clicking on our customer name, selecting sort, and changing it to average spend per customer. And now this will give us a nice bar chart with how our customers are broken out. As we see, there's a steep drop off at around $5,000 for average spend per customer. We can go ahead and filter on our data now to be able to see our top customers. We'll make a minimum of $5,000, and that will give us our true answer. Our top customers in our southern region, focusing on computers and tablets. So I ran through that pretty quick. Are there any questions on drill downs and being able to see the lowest level of data? We're now able to uncollapse our top customer and see how he's spending his money, where he's spending his money, and what he's spending his money on. Any questions?
Yeah, this is fantastic, Ryan. Thanks for walking us through that. There's a question, can you put tables on the chart?
I might not be correctly understanding that question, but you would be able to put tables anywhere you would like in the collaborative canvas. So anywhere on the
it's labels. It was a typo.
Yes, you can apply data labels. So if we went to format here, we went to our data labels and selected this, it would add labels to each of our bars there.
All right, great. I think that's the question they wanted answered.
Perfect.
There's one other one that came in. For this drill down, is it only available if you have view permission, not embedded reports?
That's a great question. So there's multiple levels of permissioning. The two that we have are Explorer, Creator, and Viewer. So if you have Explorer capabilities on a dashboard, you'll be able to do this drill anywhere technology. If you're a viewer, then you get a much more aggregated level of this data. If I preview as a viewer real quick, you just see the aggregated level of this data and not any of the low level data. But in an embedded environment, you would be able to give Explorer access where users would be able to use any of this drill anywhere capabilities. But if they were a viewer, or if you wanted them to be a viewer, you can also create predefined drill downs for those users to be able to work through.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Awesome.
I think you can continue on.
Yeah, so let's collapse this now. We got the answer we wanted to see. Let me turn off the data labels.
There's one other question. Let's see. Can we annotate the bar graph or line graph with a reason why there is a spike in a particular month?
Yes, so I think that would be a case where you would add a text box to be able to tell based off that. We also have dynamic text, so you can call out specific charts and values within those charts. So you could say if there's a max value or if a value ever is above a threshold, you can say why. You could say that this specific value is being hit because of so and so.
That's right. And with the dynamic values, then you could actually have the text and then have the number be dynamic based on the latest data, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. There's one other one. Maybe we'll just quick wait. somebody asked if you could show that, what you were just talking about.
Yeah, I'll quickly show off dynamic text. Let me go back into edit mode. So basically what dynamic text is giving the ability to do is you can add a specific formula here. So say I wanted to get a sum of specific values. This is giving us the option to do sum of yearly, sum of, let's do revenue. Oh, why is it not letting me call out values? Sum of revenue by month. Oh, I gotta remove, sorry about that. It allows us to call out specific values from within there. Looks like I didn't set that up correctly, but you would be able to call out any values from within any of these elements here. So you could set up the text box to be able to show out any outliers and then set the values to those outliers.
Okay, and then there's one other question that's related. Is there the capability to show underlying data for a single value visualization?
Yep, that's definitely possible. Yeah, so if you wanted to change one of these to a single value, I don't know if I want to change any of these at the moment, but say we created a single value for this parent table. Let's just get a total sum of revenue. Then you could click on this maximize element and you'd be able to see the underlying data for that.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. So that finishes up 4.2. We're now heading into module 5. We won't be able to get through all of this today, so feel free to get into this on your own and finish up this this hands-on lab, but we'll go ahead and head into module 5 at Sigma tables. And this is a little bit more advanced. So we're back in edit mode here. Let's start by adding a new page. So we're now in step 4.1.2. We'll select our table that we've been using, this plugs electronics table. And that will pull that in for us on a new page. We now have our table and can begin working just like normal spreadsheet, building off some calculations like we did before. First, let's truncate our date to our month. We'll truncate this to month. And notice that that applies a formula to this date column that we had. So you would always be able to use the formula bar instead of using those UI actions. And now let's group by this column. We're now on 4.1.4. We'll right click on this. We'll select group column. And that will move our month of date column over to our left-hand side. As you see over here, we are now grouping by our month of date. And we could collapse that so we can see all of our months here. So now we'll want to add a new column at this first level of grouping to get some calculations based off our data. So we're now in step 5.1.5. We'll go ahead and click the drop down, select add new column, and we'll want to get our sum of our profit per month here. So now since we're at this first level of grouping in our calculations here, we could just do sum of profit. Now we have our monthly profit and we can name that as such. And now we're going to head on to 5.1.7. So we now have the profit aggregation on the monthly level. You can now collapse, which we have already done. and that will collapse all the other data which we have already done. So we're going to head on to 5.1.8. So now let's go ahead and add a second level of grouping here. So we'll go ahead and scroll to the right. We'll find our store region. We can go ahead and click on the drop down and group by this store region as well. So now we're looking at our month of date in our store region. And we can do a regional profit calculation as well. So we'll click on add a new column here. This is step 5.1.9. And we'll do the same formula we used before. We'll do sum of our profit. And we'll uncollapse that to make it look a little nicer, which was step 5.1.11. So now maybe we would like to do some cross-level calculations, which if any SQL savvy users up there, could be difficult to write within SQL. Correlated subqueries are pretty tedious, but within Sigma, cross-level calculations are very simple. So let's go ahead and add a new column here. Ooh, whoops, we were supposed to name this regional profit. So let's rename that. Let's go ahead and add a new column here and perform our cross-level calculation. Let's say we wanted to see the amount of contribution that each region is adding to our month. We can call out both our regional profit and our monthly profit in the formula bar. We'll just do regional profit divided by our monthly profit. And this will give us our contribution percentage. Any questions there? Working through that?
Not at this point. You can keep going.
Okay, perfect. You'd always be able to move around these groupings once they're there by just switching those out. We won't do that at this moment because it'll goof up the contribution calculation, but you can always move those around once you have created them. So we're now going to head to step 5.2, intro to totals. So we're on step 5.2.2. If we ever wanted to show our totals for our specific store regions, we can go ahead and click on the drop down, select show totals just like in the pivot table, and that will provide total values for each of these. As you see, the contribution is 100% for each of these, as it should be, as you're just adding up those percentages. We are now going to head to step 5.2.4, which is adding some conditional formatting. So if you ever wanted to add some color to these tables, we can go ahead and start by right-clicking or clicking the drop-down of our regional profit. We can go ahead and select conditional formatting, and that would quickly add some formatting for us. But this isn't too helpful. Maybe we want to have these values on a color scale. We can go ahead and select color scale, and that will scale out the values for us. Going to step 5.2.5, maybe you want some grand total values. This would be very helpful for single value visualizations, which we showed a bit earlier. If we wanted to get a grand total, we can go ahead and select on this show summaries caret and select add summary. And from here, we have the ability to select on any columns we want a grand total for. Let's say we wanted to see revenue. We would select revenue here, and that will do a sum of revenue across the whole table, which gives us a grand total of $1.7 billion. That was step 5.2.5. We'll head on to step 5.2.6, which is creating another grand total. Let's go ahead and do cost of goods sold this time. We'll run cost of goods sold, and that will give us our value. As you see in the formula bar, it of course just gives us the sum of cost of goods sold. Let's make one more total here. And let's create a blank function here. So instead of just getting a grand total, let's create add new summary and then select new summary. And this will give us a blank canvas for this calculation that we want to use. And now we can use these calculations that we've already previously used to get our total profit. So we can call out our sum of revenue and subtract that by our sum of cost of goods sold. And now this will give us our total profit. Whoops. And that was step 5.2.8. Next in the PDF, you'll walk through parameters. We don't have enough time to touch on that today, but feel free to walk through that on your own time. Now we'll go into a section of question and answer for the last little bit of time we have left. So let's go ahead and go back to our slides here. Oh,
Yeah.
I think we have a poll first.
Yeah, it's all right. We have one quick, another poll for you. Let me just pop that up. Launch the poll. So after this hands-on lab, what would be the best next steps for you? And just choose one. Would you like to continue to explore the Sigma trial? Do you want to extend it, or would you like to schedule a custom demo? You know, what kind of next step feels comfortable to you? If you could go ahead and select one, we can continue on to the Q&A section. All right, a few more votes. So you could just pick one that makes the most sense for you. That would be great. All right, well, let's go ahead. We're over half of the participants. So we'll close it and share the results. Let's see. Okay, majority of people want to keep exploring the trial. Okay, you probably have enough time left. Just let us know if you need a little more time, and you can always reach out to us if you do want to schedule a custom demo or Q&A session. All right. Well, with that, Ryan, if you could put up the Q&A screen. Let's go ahead and take some Q&A. We have some questions. Will this be recorded? Yes, absolutely. It's being recorded now. Soon after we finish this up, then you'll get an email with a link to play the recording. And you can also share that recording with other folks if you say have a colleague that would like to do the virtual hands-on lab at their own time. They can do that. And let's see. Do we have a VLOOKUP feature?
Yeah, great question. That is a feature that we've just added into Sigma. So you have the ability to use lookups within workbooks to call out two separate tables with each other. So actually, I could walk through the UI for that real quick. So if we had a second table here, say we'll pull in, we'll grab a dimensions product table. We'll pull this into our same workbook. From here, we would be able to call out separate columns based off our, we don't have a product key, but I'll just show you the UI just to get you familiar. To add a lookup, you just select on the drop-down column you'd want to do a lookup on, select add column, be a lookup, and then you could select your other table here and group it based off that. Obviously, these two are not going to align, but it will give you some nice statistics on how they work out.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's a great new feature. And we have a What's New in Sigma webinar, and that's a great place to view demos of the new features. We do that periodically. Let's see, here's another one. Going back to the dashboard view, how can we edit the appearance of the dashboard? Like, what can you edit? The background, visualizations, etc. I think they're talking about within a workbook. What are you able to change?
Yeah, that's a good question. So from the workbook, you have multiple ways to customize your dashboards. We have custom fonts as well as custom brands and colors. So you can always add images, select the specific fonts you would like to use, select the colors you would like to use, and then you always have the ability to customize how the elements are placed within those dashboards. So if you have a specific branding and colors that you would like to use for your company, maybe you're embedding in your own application, you can pull all that branding, those branding colors, branding fonts, and use those from within Sigma.
And you can also put images too as well. If you wanted to have a picture, either a meme as kind of a lighthearted illustration of the results of your data, or it could be something more serious like a logo. The next one, can we run macros like we can do in Excel?
That's a great question. That feature is on the way. Yeah, that obviously a huge use cases. There's a bunch of formulas that could be written that can be used by multiple different users. Our team is currently working on a macros feature that would be very similar to Excel. Great question.
Okay, here's another one. It says, could you give an overview of working with multiple tables that you want to visualize and filter together that have a relationship with a primary key? So coming from another BI tool where I created star schema for reporting.
Yeah, that's a great question. So if there are relationships that you would like to build, we didn't walk through it today, but we recommend doing that through data sets. So data sets are our lightweight data modeling layer. This is where you can create relationships via joining or via links, which is basically if you have a relationship that you would like your users to have a window into other tables for, you can create links for them to be able to join their data. That's where you would do most of your relationship building. And then any of your users would be able to use those data sets as building blocks for their workbooks or their dashboards. So they can pull in that data modeling that you've done from a data set and work off that. I believe we have a data modeling hands-on lab as well. I don't know if we have the resources to send that out right now, but that would walk you through the data set side of Sigma.
Let's see. Somebody says my first fiscal quarter runs from February 1st through April 30th. Is there a way I can change the standard quarter dates?
Yep. We have ways to do that. So we have specific formulas that would allow you to be able to change the quarter dates. Off the top of my head, you can do a date truncate of a quarter and then use the date add function to add 1 month to each of those. So it changes the values by one. I would suggest going to our Sigma community. Our Sigma community has a bunch of, it's a place for a bunch of our users to be able to share formulas they've used or workflows that they've been using to get to the answers they need. I'm sure that question has been asked before in our Sigma community. If you wanted to head there to check it out, you could go to community.sigmacomputing.com.
And you can also use support anytime you have a question. It's available right there in the UI of Sigma. Let's see. How is version control handled? For example, multiple hands in the same report.
Yeah, that's a great question. So version control, I'll actually show that off real quick. Version control can be managed through this little drop down right here. You can see the different versions that were published. If multiple users are working on it at the same time, it will always be saved in a draft, and it will only be published out to everyone once you click the publish button. So if someone publishes and then you're still working on a draft, you'll see a little warning that there has been a change to this, and you can either update to that change or keep going and save it as your own dashboard if you would like. And then we are also working on a feature right now called Live Edit, which would work very similar to how Google Sheets or Google Docs works, where multiple users are able to work on a live document at the same time.
Okay, great. Are there any limitations when using a local CSV file, or is the functionality the same as using database tables? Does this work with just one file at a time, or can multiple local files be uploaded?
Great question. Yes, so CSV upload works very well within Sigma, and you can upload multiple different CSVs into the same workbook or join them in a data set as well. So if you wanted to upload multiple CSVs and work through those, it would be just like working from within a table in a database. Basically, what we do with a CSV upload is we use Sigma as kind of the middleman. You upload a CSV through Sigma, and then it'll be stored within your cloud data warehouse.
Okay, so there are a couple questions or requests for more labs, like more details on things like data modeling and I think more advanced topics. So I know this is something we've been getting a lot of requests for, and we're looking at doing some more advanced labs, especially since Sigma has been introducing some more capabilities around modeling data. So I think Ryan and the team will look at trying to either capture some of those advanced topics in a webinar or in some videos, which we'll post on our website. Let's see. Other questions. One kind of basic question is, did Sigma ever require or allow data to leave the cloud data warehouse?
So when you're running within Sigma, we will never take any of the data or cache any of the data in our system. It's all being stored and run in the warehouse. There are ways, like we were showing, to be able to export to Excel. So if you wanted to export a certain table to Excel or CSV, you have the ability to do that. But if you wanted to lock that down for your users, you can also use granular level account permissioning to be able to lock that down so they wouldn't be able to take any data out.
Okay, cool. Let's see, does Sigma have any capabilities for users that know SQL? Can I use my own SQL?
Yep, we have a fully functioning SQL runner where you'll be able to copy and paste any SQL that you've done and run any queries that you already have stored up. So yeah, you could totally take those queries that you've written elsewhere and then use it within Sigma.
How about, can I create year-over-year or month-over-month calculations?
Yep, yes, you can. That is a common use case. We actually have a tutorial on how to walk you through this in our help documentation. If you go to help.sigmacomputing.com and then in the search bar you type in year-over-year numbers by month, it's a nice little tutorial to walk you through how to set that up.
Okay. Are there any limitations to to pivot tables in Sigma compared to Excel? How are they different?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the main difference is that we are able to run on any amount of data. Excel obviously starts acting slow when there's 100,000 rows, and then you can't do anything over 1 million rows. While Sigma, you're able to run on any amount of data. Uh, as far as limitations compared to Excel, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but if you find any, then be sure to let our support team know, and we'll be happy to file a ticket. We're always working on getting the product to hopefully one day overtake Excel. So be sure to let us know.
Okay, great. I think that's it for the questions. Do you mind showing the closing slide? I think it's after this one.
Yep.
So we do have some resources available to support your next steps in the journey to become Sigma experts. And so, you can continue to explore that trial, the Sigma trial, until it expires, and you can always get it extended if you need it. If you have technical questions, you can go in product. If you look at the right side of the screen, you see live chat. So you can actually go in within our product and type in questions and get support that way. You can also email us. And then the recording of this webinar, again, will be sent it with you. You can send to you an email. You can share it with your team if you like. And if you have any questions or want to schedule a demo or want to extend your trial, just reach out to our sales team. And then if you need to learn more, we have a lot of resources on our website. And we also do these webinars regularly. We're at a kind of monthly cadence of doing these. So the next live virtual hands-on lab will be on Thursday, May 26th at 10 a.m. Pacific. And there's a link there. And again, in the meantime, you can always look at the replay. I personally like the replay because you can pause it and back it up if you missed something. And then the What's New in Sigma webinar, we did one on embedded a couple of weeks ago, and the next one is on Thursday, May 19th at 10 a.m. Pacific, and you can register for that if you're curious. So with that, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And thank you, Ryan, and the rest of the team that helped make this happen. We wish you all the best in your day and with your Sigma journey. Thank you.